Good afternoon, members of the Parks and Recreation and Leisure Activities Committee. Meeting for June the 7th, 2023, at 12 p.m. City Hall Council Chambers. Call the meeting to order. Declarations of conflict of interest.
None.
Approval of the minutes, May 25th, 2023. Move. Second. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes? No. We have reports, review draft rental fees waiver policy and provide recommendations to City Council. And B, resolution toward Simmons Tender Package 6, Community Building Arena Interior and Site Work Package. With the committee's permission, I'd just like to add under new business, seniors dance at the Hillsborough Hall. Just want to have a brief discussion on that. The seniors dance that takes place every Saturday night shouldn't take too long.
Yeah.
Could I
That's
also
okay.
add something under new business, Mr. Chair?
Pardon me?
Could I also add something?
Yeah, sure.
Past? I know in the past council, you were chair at the time, that we were looking at maybe reaching out to the public, doing some neighborhood meetings. So could I just put that there?
Yeah,
Neighbor-
sure.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, first report. Review draft rental fees waiver policy and provide recommendations to City Council. Frank?
Can I just ask a question? I have no issue with adding the agendas. I just want to know, because there's always a policy that you follow, and, you know, this has to be 24 hours before, and I'm just wondering, are we,
Excuse me then,
what's the procedure there under the MGA now?
Councillor Tweel, and through Councillor Tweel to Councillor Bernard. I think what I'm asking is, I'm just giving notification for the next meeting. I should have noted that. Notification.
Just a brief discussion.
And I'm okay
We
with it,
won't
I
be-
just
we
don't
won't
know,
be long.
are
We
we
won't be long.
allowed this late there's a process, I think, for that. I don't know if we just all have to agree, or if it's something that has to be, 'cause there's always the 24-hour notice beforehand, and that's why, anyway, I'm just bringing it up because
Good point.
there's
No,
apparently
that's
a
fair.
policy there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
I'm just giving mine for notification for the next meeting. Thanks for
that makes sense.
clarifying that, Councillor Bernard.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on to the report A. Review draft rental fee waiver policy and provide recommendations to council.
Okay,
Before we get into that, Frank, there was a group that wanted to meet with the committee, as you know. So I think what you're doing here is you want to have the policy drafted first, and then to see where we go with respect to that group that wanted to meet with the committee.
Correct, Chair Tweel. And as well, like we had already evaluated that group's fee request, and then they wanted to come back and meet with us. So, and this has been happening with other groups as well. So we decided we need a rental fee waiver request policy in place, so that we're not just haphazardly dealing with this, and we actually have a policy in place to deal with how we approach all rental fee requests and waivers, or rental fee reductions or waivers.
And just before you get into your synopsis, Frank, was there a policy in place before this particular policy that's being reviewed by the committee?
No, there wasn't. What we had sort of guidelines we adhered to, and some of it was common sense. It was more or less if you're a nonprofit group and you were doing a fundraiser for somebody, we would waive the fees and that kind of thing. But we've been finding there's been more requests coming in, and we feel like we need a policy in place to help guide us and to sort of make sort of groups aware that, you know, not every group that comes in, you're going to have your fees waived or reduced.
same as the naming rights. We come up with
Yes.
a policy for the naming rights.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
have a guideline.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
Walk us through the policy, please.
Yeah, so I'm just going to do a high, you received the policy there, and if you have any questions or concerns as we go through, feel free to point them out to me. But mainly, it's the city recognized, so it's going to be called the rental fee waiver policy. And it is in conjunction with the grants bylaw. So our grants bylaw does talk about waiving fees, so it is in conjunction with that. The policy statement is more or less that the city recognizes the integral role that external groups and individuals play in improving the quality of life for both residents and visitors to the city of Charlottetown. So that's the overall policy statement. I've indicated 3 purposes here. The main one that this is in place is to apply to all external groups and individuals. The purpose is policies to ensure consistent equity and transparency in addressing requests for the reduction or waiving of fees related to rental of municipal facilities. And it's to provide assistance for nonprofit groups and individuals requesting the use of municipal facilities for a program, activity, or event as designed in the policy. So just to keep that in mind, it's for nonprofit groups. We're not, if someone comes in that is a for-profit, they're not going to be considered.
Just a quick question on that, just to be clear, I know that this stem from some nonprofit organizations looking to use the facilities. I would have to think the city, or the city is requested from time to time for charitable events, for people, looking to have a dance for raising money and stuff. Does that include here? And how would we address that when we're kind of stepping outside of a nonprofit organization or group? So I know I've attended many things myself as, charitable events for people. So should we have some language around that, and how would we address that? So like a hall,
I think that's an excellent point.
like a hall. of some sort.
People that, have fundraisers, some could, unfortunately, there could be a situation in a particular family where there's hardship and they're trying to raise money, fundraiser. There's many fundraisers been held in this city over the last number of years. And the city has, in the past, provided these facilities to help with fundraising, I believe waived the fee. So is that, Frank, is that included in this proposed?
I think if you look at.
Yeah, that was the intent. So what I'll do is I will put some language in there indicating charitable event, fundraiser event, so that is covered. Those events it's an individual oftentimes or someone that's doing it as they're doing it as a nonprofit. They're not doing it to make money. They're doing it to raise money for somebody. So I'll put a line in there with regards to charitable fundraising event.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to make it clear. And like you said, this is the first draft. There could be some changes. I would like to get it through, if at all possible, the next council meeting, so we have something in place and we can move forward. And, down the road, if we have to make modifications, we can, but we'll try to catch as many things as possible this first go-around. The next thing just talks about the authority, which is pretty straightforward, how we're allowed to do this, puts us in place. There's a number of definitions, which I'm not going to go through all of them. A number of them are standard ones. The objective is linked to the purpose, but it's mainly to establish a process for providing fee waiver reductions to groups, organizations, individuals that is fair and consistently applied, to identify criteria upon which a fee waiver or reduction application will be evaluated, and to set out the process by which the city will consider fee waiver or reduction requests. There's a number of guiding principles and processes I put in, 5 items there. And they're overall general, but it's mainly that, they must submit it in writing, a request outlining the financial need, the purpose of the program, activity, or event, and the benefit to the participants and the city. This is intended, it's intended to assist the individuals and external groups who are offering a program activity that are available to residents and visitors. So it has to be an open event. It can't be a closed event. And it could be, a more set event, but the public has to be able to access it. Each one will be evaluated on their own individual merit. And the organizations the organization individuals must abide by all municipal, provincial, federal laws and regulations. So, and then the waiver of the fee or reduction activity or event should not be regarded as a commitment by the municipality for future support. So just because we support it once doesn't mean that you're supported down the road. The main parts of this is the eligibility criteria. So the applicant must be a non-profit organization. I will put in the charitable event or fundraiser serving the city of Charlottetown. The applicant must be in good standing with the city of Charlottetown. So that means they don't have an outstanding debt or they haven't done damage to a facility before or on the blacklist. The organization or individual mandate aligns with the city's strategic priorities. And this is in general. Our strategic priorities are pretty broad. And the program activity and event proposes to have a positive impact on the community and is open to the public, and the applicant demonstrates the financial need for the fee waiver or reduction. So that's the criteria. The process is down here. There's 3 steps to it. So the applicant must complete and sign the application form and outline the financial need, the purpose, and the benefit to the participants in the city. They must complete this and submit it to the department no less than 15 days prior to the booking date via the staff person that is responsible for the booking of the facility. So that could be Mike White, it could be Diane Dowling, could be someone else. The rental fee waiver or reduction request will be reviewed and evaluated by the department staff, and the applicant will be informed in writing by the department if the rental fee will be waived, reduced, or not approved. And the accountability part of this is that council through this policy grants the department the authority to make the decision on all rental fee waiver and reduction requests, and also that the department will provide updates at the monthly Parks and Recreation Leisure Activity Committee's meeting.
Well, thank you, Frank. Just, if I can, just in your last references to accountability, so the department would make the determination. So therefore, and you did say, the department will inform the committee, but the committee would not be voting on rental waiver. The department would make that decision, correct?
Correct. And we've always done the reductions. Like say if someone comes in and we look at the case, say, okay, I get a 50% reduction, that makes sense, type of group. But the full waiver, we've always used to bring them to the committee. And oftentimes our recommendation would be still, if it was a reduction initially, it's still going to be a recommendation to reduce it to the committee.
But now with the adoption of this new policy, the department would make that final determination. Yeah. So therefore, the committee itself would not be involved.
Will not be involved, except like you might get a request sent to you, kind of thing, but it'll come back to the department.
On to the department.
Yeah, and we'll inform. And for example, like fundraising events, charitable events, we would automatically say, yeah, this makes sense to waive it. We'd recommend it to the committee would support it. It was just a step we put in, even though we didn't necessarily have a policy in place to say we were required to do it. I just wanted to, if we were completely not charging the rental fee, I wanted the committee to sort of rubber stamp it and say they were okay with it.
Right. So again, so the department would make the decisions based on the policy and the criteria.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin, I think you wanted to go.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just 2 points. One, again, just on the charitable side of this, I think we need to have some agility around some of the criteria. I mean, when it does say that it would, benefit the city, sometimes, it benefits the citizens and the community, but the city might be a little bit not in line with that, but.
And that, sorry, just in that, so that's when I say the city, I mean the overall city community.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay,
so,
the community,
yeah.
okay. Because I think, I don't want to get caught up in some red tape, like that someone can't have Hillsborough Hall, use an example, for a charitable fundraiser because it doesn't align with the strategic priorities of the city. I think we need to kind of back some of that out a little bit, especially under those conditions. So I would recommend that be advised. And second to that is, I suspect at this point in time, there are a number of possibly non-profit organizations who are benefiting from a fee waiver historically up to this point, and then how does that go forward? Would there be an expectation that, post approval of this policy, that there would be an annual review? I think it indicated here that, this is not for future support, or that the city would not future support that. So we need to be clear in the language around that you have to reapply if you were a nonprofit organization that may already be historically benefiting from fee waiver of some sort for a number of years, and all of a sudden now they may have to do an application.
Yeah, and I would think right now, I don't believe, I'll have to check for sure, but I don't believe we have any groups out there that are getting a fee waiver. There used to be historically previously, but I don't believe there's any groups now that are getting a complete reduction, a complete fee waiver. There might be a group or two that has a reduction, but we'll confirm those.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I guess what Justin was saying, you can add it to it. I think personally for me, it's already in there in 6.3 and 7.5. Charity events, we've always been doing a reduction or fee waiver anyway. But I think if you look at 6.3 or you look at 7.5, and that's the program activity event proposes to have a positive impact on the community and is open to the public. 6.3 is application for fee waiver reduction will be assessed individually based on their own merit and compliance with the policy. A charity is one of the ones that normally gets the okay right away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, Justin, you were suggesting adding it to 7.1? Nonprofit organization or charity?
Or charity.
Yeah, and that's, yeah,
It's just one
Yeah.
term that we don't get
Yeah.
caught up with.
okay.
Sorry, which section did you say that was?
Well, I
Justin?
think it could be in the eligibility criteria, but it does speak to it, in
Okay.
other areas of nonprofit, in the definition section. So we could say charitable meaning this and just define what that means. There are many forms of charitable things that are happening for various reasons, as the chair indicated earlier, illness and family, friends, such and such. I think it's a very common practice, certainly in Charlottetown. I've been to many
Yeah.
myself. And I think it would be beneficial that we continue to offer that.
I think 7.5.
Where applicable. Yep, so if that covers that, I'm fine. I think I don't want to get caught up in any technicalities that say, well, we can't do that because it's not part of our bylaw
Yeah.
going.
So what I might do is actually put the definition in of charitable and a fundraiser event, so we have them in there, and then mention them in those two areas, and that'll cover
That'll
it.
cover it, yep, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, because I know we're going to be approached. I mean, it's a given, that's just going to happen. We're going to be approached by, families and friends of families that are, hard times, and, the situations that are very unfortunate. And I would think that as a community, we'd be there to help support them.
Okay. Mr. Chair, just through the chair to the manager, with our community becoming more and more diversified, Frank, you've seen it many times. We've seen it over, especially during their celebrations for Diwali and other new Canadian celebrations. I don't know if it covers those groups, and I don't know how we can do that. I think that when you describe a charitable or anytime you define something and put it in your definitions, then you restrict what we can do. So I'm just giving you some caution there on definition. But I really think that our new Canadians are trying to find those places of community of interest, one being for sure a place of celebration, and they've used different facilities, and they've asked for waivers. So let's be very conscientious that, we're dealing with new requests, but I think we have to put that lens on that equity, inclusive, diversified lenses to say that we're open to provide facilities for celebrations, not just for weddings or fundraisers, but now we're looking at our new Canadians looking at bringing their groups together, bringing their community together, and asking for some help from the city. And I think that's what Councillor Tweedle was trying to request in his new business issue, I think. That was on the Hillsborough Hall and the seniors group. So just keep that in mind, please.
Will do, Your Worship, and I'll see if I can put some language in. I was trying to keep it broader so that it actually includes all groups, because I don't want you to start mentioning groups, then you start
Then you start to segregate.
Other
You start
groups,
to
so.
segregate and isolate, and yeah, you create boundaries. So, yeah, yeah, you know what? It's a fine line, and if it's going to be, we've got to be, I guess the best way to describe it is we have to be consistent. We have to be predictable. And as long as we're consistent and predictable,
And I
I
think,
think we'll be okay.
and I think, Mr. Chair, and I guess that's the whole idea behind this policy. So, and I think it's a good policy.
Yeah.
And I think there's some direction there, and I mean, so, you know, politicians don't like to say no. So if somebody comes and asks for something, I think if I'm right, the group you were talking about was here before, and they were looking for a reduction for a year. So you're right, you could start segregating. I think the policy is the policy that we approve, and we move on that. And that takes that away from us. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, just another point about our facilities. Like, we built these facilities for our community. And yes, I know we have to attach a fee to provide cleanup, but the more we use our facilities, the more engaged the community gets. I was at an event on Sunday, and the organizers had to pay $1,000 rental fee for a public place. And, you know, if you want to bring people into Charlottetown, exorbitant fees like that or that high, you can't attract those volunteers. And, you know, Councillor Matart knows, as a former president of the Sherwood Parkdale Minor Hockey Association, you're always scratching for money or trying to get support. So let's just be fair and equitable, and that applies to new Canadians, our traditional groups of individuals that use our facilities. Let's open the doors up and let them use the facilities.
Just to comment on that, I know that we have very little space, if any space, at our facilities, and I'm looking over at Christopher because I know Diane Dowling has said our amount of rental requests have increased dramatically, and she's having to say no because we don't have facilities available. So I know the sheer number, it's really bounced back from COVID, is unbelievable, the amount of users we have at our facilities.
Yep, thanks. And I think probably the bookings are increasing dramatically because the fee that we charge is very reasonable. But I think, you know, hearing what you said, and the chair, you know, maybe it's prudent that we look at the next budget and put in a bit of a fund for some of these things that come up that don't follow this particular policy. And because at the end of the day, I understand what you're saying, is community centers are for the communities, but there's a cost to running them. So if there's something that comes up that doesn't fit under the policy, but we feel that, you know, it should be, we should be allowed to go ahead, and it's a, you know, $500 rental fee or whatever, then there's a small budget there to cover that. So it's just something for consideration.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Just as long as, I'll come back to what I said earlier, as long as we're consistent, predictable, so that all groups, regardless of who they are, can say, well, you know, the city's outlined it in their policy, and it's crystal clear. Yeah, I just don't want to get into cherry picking and picking and choosing, and I just want to be, whatever we do, I mean, we have to be all inclusive. Facilities are there for the community. I just want to be consistent. That's what I'd like to strive for when it comes to our facilities. And I know there's pressure, Frank. As you pointed out, there is pressure on the department, different groups, because, I mean, you know, if they can get a fee waiver at one of our facilities and they go to a private facilities where they're paying $1,000, you know, I mean, those things, that's going to intensify. That, there's no doubt about it. But I think, Frank, and you said yourself earlier in your presentation, this is a great starting point, this policy. We'll bring it forward. And if we have to make amendments, I mean, you're always making amendments to policies, bylaws. This will be no different. But I think this, you know, a lot of good work's gone into this policy.
Well done,
And
Frank.
I commend the staff for I know you're under a lot of pressure. We're under pressure as elected officials. So I think it's a great starting point.
So, Mr. Chair, are we bringing this up in the June meeting, or are you going to leave it till July? What's the,
Joe?
I'm looking to bring it to June, so I will make the updates to it and send it out,
Send it to the committee.
committee, and I'll do my best to get it sent out today. I got to get the package up tomorrow, so it'll be minor changes.
All in favor? Motion.
Yeah, thanks, Frank.
You know, and I'd like to thank Mike White. He did a fair bit of work on the back end as well.
Well, let the minutes show that we thank, the committee thanks Mike White for his due diligence. Item B, a resolution to award the Simmons Tender Package 6, Community Building Arena Interior and Site Work Package. Mr. Quinn?
All right, you'll see that this is a fairly large tender, and this is the last of our tenders. So this is TP6, which is the community building, the arena interior, and the sites works package. So they're very large packages. It's $12.592 million plus applicable taxes. It's to Fitzgerald and Snow is who's being awarded it. Now they've got 3 of the tender packages right now, so this is the 4th one they'll get, which is going to help a lot with having consistency on site of having the same construction general contractor doing a number of the projects. So that's the resolution that we're looking to bring forward. The background you'll see provides a fair bit of details on what took place. It talks about how long we were out with the tender. It was almost a month and a half we were out with this tender because it was such a large tender package. The tender package itself, the manual, was 742 pages, so really light reading. And then there was also drawings associated with it that was over 100 pages. A brief summary, and I tried to provide a bit here so you understand how complicated and how in-depth this package is. So you'll see the details there, but it's things like, you know, supply and install all the structural steel, the steel decking to complete the front addition. So that's the community building part, the actual lobby area, and the front of the building. Supply and install all the exterior, interior doors, windows, door hardware for the entire building, including the arena. Supply and install all the interior partitions, finishes, millworks, dressing, changing rooms, interior, exterior stairs, guardrails, handrails, precast bleachers, the bleacher seats, and all other elements to complete and enclose and finish the whole building. Supply all the electrical, communications, audio-visual services for the entire building. Supply and install all the mechanical plumbing, sprinklers, propane services, and fixtures for the entire building. Supply and install the power diesel generator, which will allow us to operate this if we have a power outage. And then also complete all the exterior work, including the site, grading, the sodding, concrete paving, concrete pads, asphalt, lighting, the fire hydrants, bike racks, and the paintings for the lanes and the parking. And then provide the fireproofing for all the steel elements and other fire-related requirements for the whole building. So you'll see that's quite, and that's just a very high-flying summary of it. There's a lot more details to the to this package. Council initially approved over 25 million, 25,534,655. The ICIP contributed partnership funding of 18,724,562. This was under the 2022-2023 capital budget. Then this year, council approved an additional $5 million. And you can do the math on that to see where that adds you up. Now, when our last resolution, this bid here we reviewed here, the low bid from Fitz and Snow meets the requirements of the tender, and it's deemed to be fair market price. Having said that, it was noted that this is a 25% over what we had initially budgeted, which ends up being about 2.5, plus taxes over the estimate that we had from September 2022 for this portion of the project. And this can mainly be contributed to inflation. Just for example, material prices have gone up 30%. Staffing costs have gone up. So this is regards to that. So that one's over 25%. The previous tender, you might recall, tender package 7, was up about 30% of what we'd initially budgeted. And we had also had to approve additional fees for DRSA for professional services of 439, 463, and then there was also 2 change orders associated with IB Story. That was 33,000 plus tax. Therefore, for that one there, so we have a shortfall from that previous budget of about $2.2 million. And this current one here, we have a shortfall as well of the $2.592 million plus taxes. So therefore, the city requires an additional budget to be approved for this project to cover the costs of awarding this tender, which is estimated to be, the shortfall is estimated to be $4.35 million. And then we're also asking for an additional request for $350,000 be approved for, so we can, in the near future, line up our project manager, but also have some funds set aside for potential change orders that will be required, and then some other incidental costs that will come up, like construction, fence, could have to do some additional electrical work, temporary stuff with regards to the site. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, but I did provide you there before the meeting sort of an overview of where our project is at financially. And you'll see at the bottom on the inside line talks about the base amount. So we have about 32 million that we have, we anticipate expending with all our tenders now that we have awarded, plus the taxes of about 3.1 million. And then the overall costs right now we're projecting to be 35.2 million. So we have a shortfall in the range of 4.7. If you turn to the next page here, you'll see that what we've already budgeted, and then what our anticipated additional budget that we required to cover this project. And I feel comfortable that will cover all these expenses. Any additional expenses, I'm allocating a bit of money for potential few change orders and some potential additional incidentals. But there shouldn't be anything major now since this is our last tender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank, I just wonder, and I know when we put a proposed budget in best estimates that we can and we apply to ISIP funding, that's the best estimate. And now we're pretty well 2 years later. Is there no going back to ISIP with unforeseen expenses to get some of the money recovered? Like, it just doesn't seem fair, I guess, that we come up with our best guess that we've had supply issues, we've had inflation. I'm just wondering, does the federal government not look at that at all, the federal provincial government in this program? Could we get some of this recovered?
My previous conversation with the individual that oversees the program on the island here was that no, there's no process. And I don't believe there is. I have not heard of anyone that has went back through ICIP and got additional funding due to inflation and economic changes that have occurred in the economy. I can follow up again and see, but it doesn't hurt to ask again.
Yeah, all I can say is no. I guess I would ask, but it just seems that it's a gap that's missing. It's not really municipality's fault. Or we know when you have a supply chain, COVID hits, and the costs have gone up, and so I think those are unforeseen expenditures. Do we get it all? We may not get it all, but I think it's worth the ask. I think the federal government probably should be reviewing that. I don't think we're going to be the only ones that are going to be hit with this. So yeah, I'd appreciate that if you would. Thanks.
And looking at the whole project, the project is, I haven't done exact thing, but it's up about 25 to 30% from our initial budget, which is inflation in the current economic
I think
times.
that's an excellent point that Councilor Bernard brought up. I think we need to explore those opportunities. Not sure at the elected level who is responsible for this particular department.
You are. You're the chair. You're the chair. Parks and
No, no,
Recreation.
no, at the provincial level.
It would fall under Rob Lance, communities.
Okay.
Your chair, so what I'll do is I'll ask you the program and I'll let you know if there's any sort of, if there is approach and and we
Maybe
go from
too,
there.
that we can have a discussion, I can have a discussion with the minister responsible.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up. That's a good point. Thank you.
I think you could probably go through Minister Lance. I think, I'm not sure, I think it's under finance that these programs go under. I know Darlene Rodenizer was the person under these grants or
She's
these
gone.
programs. She's gone, but somebody was there to replace her. Now, so was she under finance?
No, she was with the federal government. She was federal provincial. So she was in infrastructure.
Secretariat,
No.
Yeah, but
No,
Darlene
it was-
Rodenizer was a provincial employee.
infrastructure secretary with transportation.
Right.
Public Works.
There it is.
It was transportation, exactly.
Yeah.
That may be where you
I
take it.
think, Councilor Bernard, that's an excellent point. We should, again, I'll reiterate, we should explore that opportunity. If we, 1/3 or 2/3, whatever the case may be, we owe it to ourselves to investigate that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, through to the manager, I guess I just want to break it down in simple terms here. I think we've originally estimated the project to be about $25.5 million. We're looking at about 35 now, so a $10 million difference. Do I have that correct?
Correct, that's about what it is,
And
yeah.
as a result of that, how much of that would be, you would consider contingency money? I mean, at some point, the bleeding here, I mean, I don't know how far we go down here with 10 million, like, was it 12 million the next day? Is it, so how much of that would you anticipate being contingency in there, built into that?
So right now, none of it, with the exception, there's a very nominal amount for contingency because we've awarded all the tenders except for this one. There just could be some minor change orders. So I put in for change orders around 100 grand for some potential change orders, minor that is. If there's something major, we'll be coming back to the council. And then I put in some other, what I call it, other project-related expenses, and it could be like, rental of fence, construction fence for the site. We've had to do a change to the electrical for the current Simmons building because of requirements we had to meet. And then I set aside some funds for to hire a project manager.
So these tender prices that we've been approving, they're fixed price pending any change requests that we may request or approve. So they're fixed price, they're not time materials, or?
They are fixed price, and the only time that sometimes happens, we've had a few change orders. We actually had one that saved us $162,000, and then we had a couple that actually cost us money. When they get into the project, there could be an issue. Say they have to change a door, they have to change a plumbing wall, those kind of things. But we hope that this last tender, which was the biggest and probably most complicated, they spent sufficient time in working on all those design features so that we won't have any change orders or very minimal.
So are we here today to, one, approve the tender that come in to Fitzgerald and Snow, but also then to approve an additional 5 million or 4.3 million, is that correct?
So I should have noted that at the bottom on the agenda. So I've forwarded this to finance as well because they'll have to approve the additional budget. They have a meeting this afternoon, so I sent it off to them to put on their agenda. But if the committee supports it, which we're down the road here on this project right now, we have to continue moving and finish the building. But then I think what Councillor Bernard mentioned there as well, that we can look to ICIP to see if we can get some funding to offset the additional cost that the city will have to contribute.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going back to our 21-22 budget, capital budget, Frank. Back then, we estimated $50 million for the Simmons Arena. And just let me, I know, because when we got here in 18-19, we were looking at 18 million for 2 rinks. Remember that discussion, to 2 pads? So it's changed a lot. And what's accelerated the change is COVID-19. So I understand that. And I know all of us understand it too. But on tender package number 6 for I think that was the HVAC that was awarded, that was already awarded.
That was actually tender package number 7.
Okay,
Yeah.
was that already awarded?
Correct.
Okay, so we're doing tender package number 8 now?
No, this is number 6, so.
Going back, okay.
Yeah, it was because tender package 6 is a more complicated project,
Right.
took a lot more time to bid on and to put together all the drawings.
So we've already approved tender package number 7 for the HVAC. We're going back to 6. Each of those tender packages does have a contingency fund, do they not?
They would have, I'm not have to look in each one, there'd be, there'd be contingency in it, but I'll have a look at that detail, but I don't,
Yeah. What's that? Yeah, but dear, any consulting engineering firm, they have to put that in the package or the tender package to ensure any change orders, the old famous change orders. So that's fine with me. All I'm saying is, Frank, we're too far down the road. The project has to go ahead. This is a great project for the city and for the greater community, so I will move the resolution to move this forward to finance administration so we can get this stamped off and start moving.
Seconded by Councilor Bernard. All in favor?
Just now, so the resolution's on the floor, Mr. Chair. This is the last tender package, correct, Frank? Frank? This is
correct, unless something unforeseen comes out, but as of right now,
Yeah.
it's the last tender
And
package.
Mr. Chair, if you drive by the work site, it's progressing very well. Hopefully, we will be able to incorporate the whole alternative energy initiative or part of ISIP, because I think this 75% is that we're taking a building that is the old Simmons and now building a new Simmons that will be energy efficient and I think on net zero track. Is that correct?
It's being net zero ready.
Right.
But that we'll be able to move that. And we'll be looking to actually where we can access other funding to do some other
Good.
features to the building.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Gentlemen, all in favor of the motion?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I do agree. I mean, 74% funding that we had, I mean, that's been reduced, but I mean, it's still, if we can get a little bit back from ICE, that'd be great. But at the end of the day, it will be a beautiful facility, and even at 45% savings is still pretty good. So,
And-
yeah, so I'm in favor.
Okay, motion
And I will
carried.
look into the contingency question that your worship's answers are asked here.
I'm pretty sure that the contingency
Okay,
money is there.
motion carried. Thank you. I asked under new business, I wanted to bring up the seniors dance at the Hillsborough Community Hall. I've been asked by the organizer to see what we can do to help offset his expenditures to continue with the dance at the Hillsborough Community Hall. The dance, from what I understand, is very popular, but he does experience expenses. He hires a band, he provides a lunch, he does the cleanup. Even when there's supposed to be a bartender there, sometimes the bartender doesn't show up, he does the bartendering. This is a demographic of our community that enjoys this dance. This is a real nice event for our seniors. We have people there that are later on in life, they really enjoy and look forward to this event. So, wondering what we can do to help offset the cost to put the dance on. I know last year we offset it $1,000. I believe that's been exhausted. This seniors dance goes all year round, and I'd like to be able to see what we can do to help. And the gentleman's name is Felix McDonald. He does a fantastic job, but he's finding it very difficult. So I wanted to bring this to the committee to get some feedback from the committee to see what we can do to help with the longevity of the seniors dance.
The only question I would have is, if it's the one I'm thinking of, is there not a fee to pay to get in? Do they pay to go to the dance?
There is a fee, Councilor Bernard, but even that's not enough. Like it's about, I think it's $10 to get in. But You know, like I said, he has to pay a band. He pays a lady to help make the sandwiches. And, you know, he's not doing it for profit reasons. He's doing it because that's something that he enjoys. He has a passion for it. And the seniors that attend this dance at the Hillsborough Community Hall really look forward to going to it. And he's experiencing, you know, financial difficulties. And I've had chances to talk to Felix over the last number of months. And, you know, I said that I'm committed to him. I would bring it back to the committee. And I'd like to be able to do something where, again, there's longevity and it's not such a burden on him. I mean, he can't pay for it out of pocket. It's got to be, I would suggest, a true partnership with the city and Felix. And I know a lot of the seniors that go to that dance, for example, our former Lieutenant Governor, Frank Lewis, and his wife are there. You know, Doug Moore, when he was able to, him and Bernice Moore and others, you know, that's something that they, you know, it's their event, and I think we need to do as much as we can for our seniors.
Could I just ask a quick question, Mr. Chair? Through the chair to the manager, are we waiving the fees for the rental? Frank?
We are not waiving the fees for this one. We do have a request
Okay.
for us to consider it, which we will be considering
Okay.
after we have our policy in place.
That takes care of it, right?
That was,
Wait.
Mr. Chair, that was my question. I wanted to see if that was one that aligned with what I said historically. Because you said this has been going on for a while there, or has that dance been there for several years, or?
Prior to that, it was at 57.
57 St. Peter's Road,
Oh, yeah.
but it was there, and then I guess there was
Ginger
deficiencies
McKay,
with the building.
Yeah.
And then Felix took upon himself to relocate for Community Hall. And
So he's been renting that at full cost?
I
up to this point.
believe so.
There's more history to it, so I don't want to get all the
Okay,
details
but I
here
think
right now,
this-
but
I think this aligns with the policy. I think this is a great opportunity to run this one through the policy that we're
But
invoking.
I don't, here's what I'm afraid of, Councilor Matart. I don't want the policy to prohibit the city from being able to put together a true partnership, so it's not, where it's not feasible for this gentleman to put this event on. He's also providing a service to our seniors. And you know, we talk about how we assist many different groups. I mean, you know, if you look at Victoria Row, the city cuts a check for $10,000 for entertainment. We do down at Sydney Street. We do down at Peaks Quay, where we're cutting checks. And these are great, you know, these are great opportunities for talent, to artisans to, you know, be able to play in front of these particular businesses. But this is where our seniors are actually getting to enjoy themselves. And, you know, I mean, I want to do everything I can to help Felix and make this economically feasible for him. So I don't want the policy, I want to caution everyone, I don't want the policy to prohibit in any which way, shape, or form putting on the dances and taking the stress and the pressure off them.
Yeah, but again, Mr. Chair, through you to the manager, the purpose of the waiver policy is to provide a level playing field for all groups. And that's what I'm saying. Partnerships, if we're going to do partnerships, I want to make sure New Canadians are part of that, because every Sunday I go to church, they're asking about, can we work something out? So I think what the manager has put forward is a waiver fee policy, which I think we all accept, and I think that's a good start. And, you know, that will save some money for these user groups. But, Mr. Chair, we have to be careful when we open that Pandora's box, then we will take on some other stresses. I think the stress of the waiving the fee is a good first start.
Yeah. Can I just provide a comment, your chair, before, it's just with regards, so that's the whole thing. It's they outline the financial need, the purpose of the program, activity, and event, and the benefit to the participants in the city. So if they make the case, we're very reasonable people as city staff that will review it and make an informed decision on it. We have had at times people request rental fee waivers for events they're doing, and we know that it's they might say it's nonprofit, but they're making money off the event. So we have to, look at them with open eyes and make sure. But yeah, so the individual has requested into us, and we were saying we were waiting till we had a policy in place so we can make a more fair and transparent decision.
Please keep in mind too, like I said, the city does provide funding for entertainment down on Victoria Road through the Economic Development Tourism Committee, Sydney Street, and down at Peace Key. I mean, we provide funding.
For economic development, a driver,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we provide funding, so, I did talk earlier about consistency, and this is where our seniors, folks, this is something for them that they truly look forward to on a Saturday night. It's their event, they go in, they get up, they dance a little bit, they have a sandwich and half a glass of beer, and it's something it's theirs. And you know what? And give Felix a lot of credit. He just needs to offset the cost. He's not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
I know that. He's the poor man. He's not doing it for the money. There's no way.
Mr. Chair, I agree, but I think we got to go back to exactly the key word you used was consistency. So we need to have that, as the mayor said, level playing field. I really think this policy will help in that and meet that criteria. And it sounds like this event would likely meet a lot of that criteria to help offset that. I think we need, and if we are doing some other things, we should look at those as bringing those back into the fold of our new policy. That's why I went earlier. If we're doing something that's now in direct conflict with that policy, we should be looking to put that in and right that ship so that we're all on the same playing field and they're going through the same process and nobody has an advantage or a disadvantage. That would be consistent to what you said consistency was what you were looking for.
I think we went through that. What he's talking about is through the economic development. We would have went through the budget for that. And that's, so that's
That
not
consistency,
rental of
yeah.
the hall or anything. This is a city facility that they're using, they're charged to get into. And I think that's why the policy is in place to be able to review situations like this.
Thank you.
So, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Frank. No, can I just leave that? I respect Councillor Bernard's wish that maybe we can get some background information. I think the one meeting I'm talking about, Councillor Bernard, is that we need to have a neighborhood meeting or an open meeting on the progress of the Simmons Aqua Arena facility. No, I know that.
I did talk about, having an information session, a progress report. And yeah, no, I think, Frank, we talked about that a number of weeks ago. And yeah, sure, absolutely.
Just getting out in the neighborhoods, just.
No,
Yep.
good point. Thank you.
Just next meeting, thank you.
Thanks. And I want to thank Frank for, I know, there's a lot of issues going on in our city, folks. We're not going to discuss them here today, but I can tell you that we're having difficulties with, smoking in our parks. Victoria Park, we're having tremendous difficulties. I have major concerns. I'm getting feedback about needles in our parks, whether it be the Joe Giz Park or the Yola Bar and the sports fields, and schools or community user groups use these facilities. I don't know what mechanisms we're going to put in place, but these things are happening. Also on the rails and trails, there's different things happening along the rails and trails. I get the feedback from people that, this is their daily routine. They like to go for a walk on the rails and trails. They like to get down to Victoria Park and go for a walk. And we've got some issues. And Frank, we need to, I think the committee, later, we need to discuss these issues because it's not just our neighborhoods and communities. It's our facilities that are there for the community. And, we've got to look at what mechanisms we put in place to ensure safety, especially we have young children, and the parents need to feel safe knowing that their sons and daughters are in our parks and feel safe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Move for adjournment.
Move.
I just
Well-
can I get an update? Is there any movement on? I know we talked here. We had baseball making a presentation, and we have soccer communities there. The soccer associations that are short soccer fields. We've got rugby as short fields. We've got no cricket field, no place to play pickleball. Is there any work being done on this? a place for seniors to play pickleball, or those, not necessarily seniors, I guess, but
Can we put that on the next agenda?
please do, yeah.
Please, I agree with the Councillor Bernard, especially with the explosion of cricket in the city, in the capital area. Thank you very much.